He went to Palestine, Israel at the time, and he married this woman on the ship before in Paris, I believe. And he was on his way in the what's the name of that ship again?
The Exodus.
Exodus. He was on the Exodus. And what had occurred there was that he wrote a letter to your father.
To my father?
To your father. And he put it in a bottle. Sealed the bottle.
You are taking my slides. No, I'm joking. We'll see it in a minute.
I'm sorry if I'm taking this story.
No, I'm joking. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
So
I was not joking.
let's start with the presentation then.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
just let me ask Yoni. I'm not sure, but do we have any other guests or only the 5 of us, 6 of us?
Only the 6 of us or 5 of
I
us.
tell you why, because most of the presentation it was about the Orschitzer family, and they were a lot of them were last time, and also the Firer family, and also, so we will go through them quite quick if nobody of them is participating, and then we will come the last part with the what we was left from last time, the Weinstein. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, so let's start. So I am starting. Chaim, you were also last time. Sorry.
No, I wasn't, but I got your email with a link to the first one. I started watching it before, but then I didn't want to miss this one, so I stopped. I'll go back to it another time.
Okay, you'll have to. So generally, it's based on interview that I did with you. I mean, Abe and you and Philip and all whoever was okay. And there is a whole series of meetings that you will be able to. You can see them in that link of my family, my mother, also my father's family, etc. And the whole story is around Rzeszów, where the Weinstein and the Blasbal family lived at that time. This is also a source. It was the poem Reiche that Abe's father wrote, and you see his signature there. So this is also was a wonderful source. I don't know if you read Yiddish. It was translated to Hebrew, so I read it in Hebrew. But if you read Yiddish, it can be wonderful for you also. Do you read Yiddish, Chaim?
I do, but I have to tell you that it takes me a week to read 4 lines, because some of the words in Yiddish, although they have the Hebrew letters, they sound almost like made up words. So I could look at a word and it starts to look like organization with the Aleph and the Resh and the Gimel, and then it goes organizatia. Everything is atzia at the end. So it's a little confusing. I can do it if I need to or if I put my mind to it, but generally not so much.
Let me ask, do you read Yiddish printed or also handwriting?
I read Yiddish, but I'm not as quick as I used to be because over the years I really didn't look at it that much.
I tell you, one of the
I could speak it quite well. I don't have anybody to speak it with except for Naomi and
okay, so we have to look for somebody else.
So I'll read it to you if you'll translate it. How's that?
Yeah.
Sorry?
I'll read it to him, or we could have Jeremy, Beth's son Jeremy is taking Yiddish. He can read it to you, and then you translate it.
Okay, the book, probably you have a copy so you can read it, but I found lately few letters in Yiddish that Philip's mother wrote to my father. So, but I will find somebody to translate it for me. So let's go on with the presentation. So our family story from the women's side started in a small village close to Rzeszów that was called Kantsuga. You will be able to see it in the maps, etc. Those are some pictures. I am doing it quick because we did it first time in the last presentation. And this is the way that our families are I mean, the tree that explains how we are related. There were two sisters, Hannah and Ratza. One of the things that I found that they are from different mothers of Reb Shlomo Lipa. Now those, the Ratza is quite younger than Hannah, something like, how much is it? 13 years. Now Ratza married my great-grandfather, and then this is my grandfather, their son. This is the only son that survived. I mean, they had few very young babies that died, but he was gone alone, and then my father, and then me. So this is my side of those two sisters. And Hannah, the older sister, married Avram Beirish Weinstein in Rzeszów. He lived at those years, and she lived at the middle of 19th century till the beginning of the first of the 20th century. And so this first, how Blasbal is related to Weinstein. Now, this Hannah and Avram, they had, I don't know, several of children, but one of them, Moshe Tudrus, married Rachel Firer, and this is the way how the family is related to the Firer. And the Malka Gittel, the daughter of Beirish Weinstein, married Zvulun Orshitzer. So this is the way that we are related to Orshitzer. And Yaakov Weinstein is your grandfather. So this is the way that we are related. Now I will go relatively quick through the sisters, through the story of Zvulun Orshitzer. He was born in Tarnov. His father was the Av Beit Adin of Tarnov. He was quite a very, very scholar in Tarnov, and he had several children, but it looks that Zvulun didn't like too much to study. Even he was also some studying, etc. So he I don't know how was the shidduch, but then he came to Rzeszów, something like 1 hour drive nowadays, and they married Malka Gittel. And in the census in Rzeszów in 1910, it looks they lived Malka Gittel and Zvulun, the two couples, the mother from Kantsuga, and then Manya and Beirish, the children, and also Beirish Gerard. I mean, this is Beirish Benny. This is the Orshitzer family, all
Right.
those, and this is the father of Abe that also lived with them after his mother and Max were returning to Stropkov after Yaakov left them to America. So this is the house where this family in I don't know if the house, but this is the location. This is Metaiki 5, and this is the print of this census. Now
All right.
this is the marriage of Malka Gittel and Zvulun, and just let me go through my things here. Just a second. Now, when they married, I mean, they married in 1903. He was 24 years old, and Malka Gittel was 17, according to what it's written here. So
How
they
old
were
was he?
Sorry?
How old did you say he was?
No, not the baby. The father was, Zvulun was 24, and his
24.
24, and his wife was 17, quite young. Now, when I read in the poem of Beirish, he describes, here are some parts of the poem, and he writes that he saw Zvulun. Zvulun was usually coming home very late. So after he had a shop, a business, we will talk about it. But after that, he went to the, I don't know, synagogue or to the place where he prayed, and then he was studying, and he mentioned two books that he was studying. One was called Ein Yaakov. I don't know, you were in yeshiva, so you know it, but this is very something that somebody from, I think,
it's a lot of what they call agadata. The Ein Yaakov is a lot of agadata. That is, it is not law-based, it's not halacha, it is more, I guess you would call it stories. I haven't looked at Ein Yaakov in a long while, but I remember being struck by that reality.
And it was published first in 1516. But what is more interesting is Imrei Yaakov. This one was written by the second Admor of the Jikov, Admor, I don't know how it's called. This Reb Meir Horowitz, he was born in Ravaruska in Galicia, but this is the part of what is now Ukraine. And over he describes how it was written, and he came then to the area of Jeshuv and Rozvadov and Jikov, and now just few lines from this from the poem of Beirish about Zvulun. In Hebrew, and you will translating, or I will, הוא בא אוריין, בנו של הדיין מטרנוב, והדיין בנו של רב ידלי שחיבר ספר, ומרוב לימוד נעשה סגי נאור. זבולון לעולם לא יישא קולו בלמדו, רך מוטל זקנו על גבי עין יעקב, על גבי האמרי נועם של הרב מאיר, השורשם הרבי רב יושעלי. What he describes here, that he studies very quiet, not a voice, and he says that his grandfather was such a scholar that studied so much that he became finally blind because of his studies, this Reb Yideli. והנה זבולון לחוף ימים, גבה קומה, צנוע גבו, ובבשרו פועם דם יעקב. עיניו גדולות, אפורות, לתוך העולם צופות, יהודי משבט זבולון. על כן הפליג בספינות מעבר לימים, ראה את שמש בחולות המדבר, ויכול היה לחבוש אותן, ידיו מגוידות, והילוכו עקשן. מלבושו כבד, מגפיו פרא, וכטבע יהודי חסיד חסון, הוא חוטב עצים בבקרים, משיג בבית את תנור האפי האבן, בראותו צלב, וחיש עוצם את עיניו. What he describes here, the first he was a tall guy and thin, and he was kind of a farmer, very strong guy. He describes here that he took a ship, I don't know, he went to to some desert, I don't know which desert he he הזמן חולות המדבר, I don't know where he did travel. He describes here how his boots and the way that he was in the morning as he was waking up, he was putting wood in the oven, and this is the first time, and whenever he saw a cross, he was closing his eyes. And then the other part that I brought here is describing what he did at the beginning of First World War in Rzeszów, when there was a big fear of the Russians coming into Rzeszów, באימה גדולה עומד זבולון בן התורה ומעמיק חפור במרתף לקבור את מעט הרכוש, ואת הרכוש טמן בתוך הקיר. הוא רשם בתוך פנקסו כל חפץ, עשה חשבון לכל חתיכת סחורה, חנה לבנר החלב המדלדל, העירה ליהודי בן תורה ורק התפללה לאלוהים. So what he described, that they went into the cellar, Hanale with a candle, and he was digging holes mainly in the wall, and put all their treasures before later on they left, before the Russians will come. זבולון הושיב את בני ביתו על העגלה, כל מה שיכול העלה לתוכה, מלבושים ומצאות, כלים וספרים, ויצאו לבית הנתיבות, ערומים ודלים. בבית נשארו חנה'לה וזבולון בוטחים באדוני, כי אוסטריה גרמניה לא ייתנו לפוניה לכבוש את ריישה. עזה החלטת זבולון וחנה'לה, לא יעזבו השניים את העיר. מוטב להישאר בריישה עם הרוסים, ברצות השם יהיו גם תחת פוניה, ואם חלילה ימותו לפני הבית. So here what he describes, the Hannah and Zvulun decided that they will stay in Rzeszów and they will not leave even if the Russian will come, but the rest of the family they put on to the train to leave to probably to Czechia, Bohemia, that places. And finally, what he describes is that at the last moment, after when the bombs just started, they was just running and catching the last train, and they also left the city and moved for the period of the war to out of Poland. Now, this is the second house, or second or third, I don't know, the last house. This is a registration of his death in 1941. And this is the picture of this house where they lived probably between the wars till the beginning of World War II, sorry. Now, this is Zvulun's son,
Gene and Benny.
Benny Beirish. He was, formally it was Dov, but they were Dov Benny Ort, but they were so, I don't know exactly. So he was Beirish, but because there were so many Beirish, so they decided, I don't know exactly how they were decided to call him Benny.
Benya.
The story, Benny was also a guy that didn't like to study. He was a very, very orthodox Chassid of the Zhikov Admor, and every holiday he was going there for about 20 years. He didn't miss even one holiday, not being in the Admor place in Zhikov. But he was starting very young, when he was about 14 years old, to make business. Now, he married first time a woman from Rzeszów that was called Dina Meller. Now, Philip told me a story that one day, when Philip was already, I think, married, they sat together, him and Zvulun, him and in Benny, and Benny asked him told him, wait a minute, I am going to the toilets. And he went there, and for a very long time he didn't return. And Philip looked all around on the table, and he saw some teuda, some document. And after a few minutes that his father didn't return, he started looking into it. And it was a kind of a document from the DP camp in Germany. And it was written there that Benny had his first wife, Dina Meller. This was the first time that Philip realized that his mother is the second wife of Benny. He never knew it, and he was really shocked. And after some time, Benny returned, didn't say a word, and when Benny died, Philip was looking for this document, but he didn't find it. So probably Benny left it at that time on the table, and later on just threw it or tear it or whatever. But this was the only time or only way that Zvulun heard from Benny about this first woman. When I was looking in the archive in Krakow, the how they call it, they have a special business archive in Krakow, I found some documents about a partnership between my grandmother, Leah Blasbal, you can see it here, and Dina Orshitzer, that was very younger than her. They had in the Rinek, in the center of Jeshuv, they had a tobacco shop, and probably they got a special license to sell tobacco in the whole area. And this, as I understood, this was one of the ways, or maybe Rasa had this special license, and this was the way that they became rich, because they had a special license to sell yash and tobacco goods. So this is, Benny, what I heard from Philip was that when Benny was about 14, he started, his first business was to sell foreign bills, dollars, to buy and sell dollars, etc. So usually what the system was that the older people could get a very severe punishment. So they used young boys just to be in the front of this kind of business. And if some of them was caught, it was finished with some hits on the face or something like this, but not what could happen to other things. So this was the way that Benny started his business life. Later on, he became also a head of a group of such dealers. And when he was about, I don't know, very young, he started his business of a small factory, or not so small, a factory of tar paper, something to do for, he was manufacturing and selling tar paper for, how to call it, to cover, please, against entering of water, I'm also all the time translating from Hebrew, so this was his first business. And during the war, when the Germans came in, they just took, I don't know what is the English word for it, Hilimu, they took the factory from him, and he was lucky that the Gestapo came to his house looking for him, and his wife, Dina, sent him a message not to come home because the Gestapo is looking for him. So he left home and never saw his family. He had two children, but then he started walking or here and there, all kind of places in the area. He was just running and hiding himself. And I think in 41 or 42, it just, the Germans declared that if somebody will surrender and will come, they will not kill him. And then this was what he did. And he started working as a worker, עובד כפייה, I don't know how you say it, kind of a slave, I don't know, for the Germans, but he was lucky because he was, they gave him a relatively a light job. And afterwards, they sent him to other camps in Germany, and he was in Leshov and Flossenburg, and he survived. But then I don't know if he returned to Shesho, but he heard that nobody of his family is alive. And then he decided to immigrate to the United States, and he took the ship. It was and he came to America in May 46. As I heard from Abe, at the beginning he lived with your family in New York.
Yeah.
I understood also that he brought with him quite a lot of money, something like $10,000 that he succeeded saving through his business in Europe. He was also doing with all kind of, he was selling tobacco, and he was producing cigarettes, all kind of things there, but he brought with him quite a lot of money. And then he met Jean, Regina, and met her, and Philip was born in 49, and Avi in 51. And
Yaakov, was
just a second. I'll finish in a few minutes, and then I'll give you to Ed. Now,
okay.
I understand that he has in Manhattan, in Lower East Side, they had a linen store.
Yeah.
But after a few years, he started with real estate, and was very successful, and became a very rich person. So now, if anybody wants to add something to it, go ahead.
I would like to add a few things. First of all, I just want to say that
Just raise your voice, please, Chaim.
our Mishpucha is geknippt and gebinden, tied and knotted, because we have here, I see Shani, and Shani is Chaim's oldest daughter, and also her husband, Dio. And he's a barber. And the reason why I want to mention him is because he is related to Naomi's Mishpucha.
Really?
So it's kind of interesting that Weinstein married a barber, like I married Naomi, we're Mishpucha. So I just want to let you know that we keep on tying ourselves and knotting ourselves together as a one happy, wonderful family, in which we are. Now, getting back to Benny, I just want to let you know that after the war, Benny happened to work in the military. Their feeding centers, and what he did was he worked there, but he was very clever. At the end of the meal, he hired a couple of people to pick up the cigarettes that were smoked in the mess hall, and he, at the end of the day, would take the cigarettes, cut it up, and make the tobacco and make cigarettes, actually make cigarettes. And he sold the cigarettes to none but the Germans. The reason why he sold it to the Germans, he didn't want to sell it to the Jews because he felt the Jews will not live long when they smoke cigarettes. So he was pretty sharp in a lot of ways. But he did come to the United States, I remember, with $10,000, which was an awful lot of money in those days. And from that on, he became what we would say a multimillionaire. He was very fluent in his geschäft. Geschäft came, I think, first. Religion came also first, but it's a different way with him. But that was most important, I think. And he had, at that time, two boys, two wonderful boys. And Jean was an outstanding woman. I feel for him as well as I felt for Avram Blasbal, because Avram was also married and they had one child before. He had his new wife and two wonderful kids, Avram and Rachel, and he would be stolz as could be, as proud as could be, for the families that both of them developed over the years. So it's a shame that they missed their first life, but their second life was unbelievable. I see how they developed, and to me, it's such a warm feeling that sometimes I have tears coming to my eyes. As far as my father being a Gerhardt, I just want to let you know, he was a Weinstein Gerhardt. They married the Gerhardts. Chacha Gerhardt was the mother of my father, and Yaakov Weinstein was the father from Reisha. He decided to come to the United States when my father was about 2 to 3, and when my uncle Max was about 1 year old or so. And the way it goes in the Jewish religion, that since he went to the United States, Chacha had to get a place to live, and she went back to Stupkov. That was the town that she came from, Stupkov. So she went back to Stupkov. According to Jewish law, and I'm not a knower of Jewish law, I know that the oldest son goes with the father's side, and the youngest son went with the mother's side. So basically, Max was raised in Stupkov as the city under Chacha, but he also knew everybody in Reisha, in Jeshov. So it's kind of interesting. And what happened was that Yaakov came to the United States. What reason? I really don't know. I have a feel. I might be wrong. They always told me he came to the United States to do business and whatever, but it seemed to me that there might have been a problem between him and Chacha at the time, and that's why the split came, because I know he came to the United States and he worked very hard. What he did, who he met, I don't know. But I could tell you his life was good when my mother, Malka, who was also my father's first cousin, naturally Chaim's father's first cousin. She brought over Max and Chacha into the United States.
Hey, thanks a lot. We will come to your family in few minutes, but let me just finish with the Ort family.
Okay, fine.
So I have lot of stories about Benny and his family, but as nobody from his family is participating, I will say only it will be shown in the book that I'm writing, but generally, Benny was he was a Zionist. He liked to live in Israel. That's what I understood from Zvulun, from Philip.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? I wanted to find out when Benny and his first wife, did they have any children?
They had 2 children, but the wife and the 2 children died in the Holocaust. I don't know any details about but they had 2 children.
Okay.
Okay. So Benny, now we are talking about the period in the United States. So both of them, Jean and Benny, has a very, very interesting yiches. She is also from a chain of rabbis, and also Benny, but he was not a scholar, but he was very good doing in business. And when he was in the United States, he thought about a lot of time of coming to Israel. He didn't belong to any group, but he was really Zionist. That's what Philip told me. At the beginning, he bought a house in Netanya. And it was rented. I think my father took care of all all what was needed about this house in Netanya. Later on, he sold it and bought another apartment in Jerusalem. But after the children, after Philip and Avi after Philip and Avi got married and had children, then Jane decided that they will not leave, they want to stay with their grandchildren, etc. And the dream of coming to Israel didn't come through. The only thing that happened is that when they passed away, the children, even if it's not was in the tzava'ah they left, they decided to bury them in Israel, and they arranged to bring their bodies to Jerusalem, and they are buried in Har HaMenuchot Yerushalayim. So this is now another interesting thing, from relation point of view. I mean, my father with Benny, I don't know, was second cousin, something like this. But they were really like brothers. They loved to meet one another. Whenever they met, they were talking Yiddish. Hours and days. I have no idea what they talked about. I really don't know. Probably Benny was telling him about his business, and my father, what happened to him and the children, etc., and maybe some memories from Jeshua. But they became very, very good friends. And in '64, when I was 16, they brought, this is a picture of Avi and Philip visiting our place in Ashkelon. This was the first time that Philip and Avi came to Israel. And since then, we became pen pals. I don't know how you call it. We start writing one another, me and Zvulun. Even he was religious and I was completely not. I don't know exactly what we found, but probably because our fathers were so we start corresponding. I was trying to write in, I don't know, maybe Hebrew, English, I don't remember. I found probably the letters are somewhere. Philip wrote me that he keeps all my letters. I will show you in a minute one of those letters. But, and I found some of his letter, but later on, not when we were young. This is a picture of on the day of wedding of Gidi and Michal. Abe and Naomi were there too, but in the morning they decided to go to the Kotel, and I couldn't come, but Philip went with them to the Kotel and blessed them some, I think, Birkat HaKohanim or something like this. So this is a picture of Philip and Michal and my Gidi and Michal in Jerusalem, near the Kotel. This is another picture that I showed previously, that here is the bar mitzvah of Philip. This is Jane and Benny. This is Max, your father.
No. This is Max, my father.
Sorry, this is Max and this is Berish.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Right.
And this is Lillian, and this is Malka Gittel, and here are Abe and Naomi. Sorry, and these are, I think,
This is
this
me.
is you, Chaim, I think.
This is me, and this is my brother Jerry.
Yeah, and this is Jerry. So, okay, this is a picture of when was it?
It was a
62, I think.
mitzvah.
It was his bar mitzvah,
Yeah,
Phillips.
okay. So, me, as I told you, at that visit, my relation with Philip just started, but we had was really a very, very good friend of mine. And I prepared the whole of stories about our relation. We were traveling around the world, not all the world, but we were in England together. We went in Russia together. We were in Switzerland together. And of course, many times in Israel, you know, he was not so, he had a very tough life. Nobody has a light life, but he had really a tough life and tough life, especially after his first wife died, and he was left with 10 children.
Yeah.
And I think the only place that he could relax a little bit was our place in Be'er Sheva, wherever. So whenever he could, he was coming to us and staying at our place several days. He taught Hagar how to prepare kosher food or bring kosher food to our place, and he was just relaxing, was sitting on the terrace for hours. And he was staying for a few days in Be'er Sheva, just resting. I think this was the only chance for him to rest. So sorry?
Can I say one thing? See, Naomi, in that stomach was Toba, our oldest daughter. Okay, you could go on from there.
Okay. So really Philip became a part of our family, and he had a very good relation with my children. Uri, after army, came to New York for I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months, and he stayed at their place. Even they were religious, and Uri completely not, he was working as a schlepper. This was the way that young people could make some money, and the best time to do a lot of money was to work on Friday evening and Saturday. So they were sitting, Uri told me, they were sitting in Aruchat Shabbat, and Uri apologized and said, "Look, I have to go out. I have to go to work." And Akiva, the second son of Philip, he is the big rabbi. Now he is head of how do you call it? Place where he studies in Montreal. He is the head of
Kollel?
a kollel in Montreal now, Akiva. He is really a big scholar. But at that time he was quite young, but he tried to convince Uri not to go to work. He said, "Look, it's for you, etc." And Uri told me that Philip immediately was really liberal. He said, "It's not your business what Uri is doing. let him do whatever he wants, and you will do whatever you want, etc. And this is very something unique, I think. I'm not sure unique, but this was what I think one of the characters of Philip that let us be so good friends, me and him and the families, etc. So,
Can I say something?
of course,
The way I understood it was Benny was both very smart in business and also extremely smart in his Jewish Orthodox way of life. And my understanding was that Philip took after Benny as far as making money is concerned, and that Avi took after Philip as far as davening and learning was concerned in Hebrew. That was my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
yes, you are completely correct. And at the beginning, Philip was working with his father, but it was quite complicated because, everybody has his own ideas about what to do and how to do, etc. And later on, they separated. And I think Philip had his own business. Maybe I will tell one more story about 5/11. On that day, Hagar's sister, Talia, and her husband and the children landed in the United States very early in the morning. They came to the States to visit New York, and they went to the hotel and put their luggage there in the hotel and took the underground to the Twins. And they arrived one stop before the Twins, the underground stopped, because this was just a few minutes before the first hit of the Twins. So they went out they didn't know it was it was a big balagan there, but they went out and they started running with all the people to the ferries in the south part of Manhattan, and jumped on the first ferry that was there. There was they said a wave of dust when the one of the Twins collapsed, etc. And they were just jumping on the ferry, and it took them to the other side of I don't know how it's called there, the other side. Staten Island, and from there they succeeded calling me, telling me, look, we saw it already on the television to see the Twins collapsing, but I didn't know that they are there. But they told me, look, we are here in the beach of the other side, and we don't know what to do. What can you do? So we asked them just to wait there, and I succeeded calling. It took me a long time because the communication was very tough, very difficult. And I called Philip, and I told him, and I asked him to help. I don't know, they are there, and this is the phone number, and what can you do? So he was thinking a little bit, and he called the parents of Fegi. Fegi is the wife of Chesky's oldest son, right. And they lived in that place. So he called them, and they came and took the family. I mean, Talia and the husband and the children took to their place. And during the night, they stayed at Fegi's parents. And in the morning, they came back to the hotel. They succeeded coming back to the hotel. So this is one typical story. I met Fegi's parents on Sheva Brachot when Chesky and Fegi got married. So I came to the States and met them. I missed the wedding because there was about 12 hours delay in the airport, but Sheva Bruches, I was there. Yes, Chaim.
I wanted to tell you something that Abe said before, as wir sind geknippt und gebunden. Feigi's parents, Toby and Shmuel, were very good friends with my wife, Rachel, long before I met her. And we became very good friends with them. They lived in Staten Island at the time. We also know Chesky because Chesky now lives in Teaneck. And every
Right.
time I daven in that shul, the Romer shul, I think it's called, whatever, I get a chance. I walk in there with my friend who lives a few blocks away from there, and I see him. I see him in shul. It's a very interesting story that we are all, not just we're connected because we,
Yeah.
not just because we're Jews, but because this is special in the way, the different ways the lines work to connect us.
I have one more for the next generation. Hi, I'm Shani. I'm Chaim's daughter. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm really enjoying it. I really appreciate it. Feigi works in the clinic that I work. I'm a social worker. She came to work in the same clinic and I supervise her. But before I started working with her last year, my daughter was in Israel for the year in seminary and told me that she was going with a friend to a certain family for Sukkot. And she told me the name. She said, I'm going to Feigi and Chesky Ort. I said, you're kidding me. You don't even know that we're related. So I reached out to Feigi and I told her that my daughter was coming to her, and she hosted my daughter for the first days of Sukkot. And then we started working together, and I still supervise her to this day. And we talk all the time about how her father-in-law is related to me, but her parents, I went to their house for Shabbat, and they came to us because they were friends with my parents. It's just a very funny thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
Amazing.
I'm so happy that it happened. I can tell you one more story, maybe just about this Sheva Bruches. I don't know if you know Feigi's father. The family is Satmers, and they are very, very extreme. They were living in Israel and left Israel because they don't accept Zionism, etc. And they live in, the father is the only one that what I call a little bit normal. His two brothers and the father are completely crazy. They came to the Sheva Bruches with all the uniform, the Satmers, and they sat near to me and they talked for 2 hours just against Rabin at that time. They were, I don't know how to stop it. They were saying how terrible is the Zionism, etc. But this is another story. Let's continue. So this is the family of Philip and his children. Chesky is here. Akiva is here on the right. Hannah, of course. Hannah was, in a minute, I'll come to her. Then Malki, here she is. And this is Ahuva. Those are the 4 older children. I mean, Chesky, Akiva, Chesky, Malki, Akiva, and Ahuva. And the other, here we see only 5, but later on, there was another one, Dovid, the smallest one, but this is Tehila. And these are the other 4, so I don't know who is who, but it doesn't matter because nobody here from the family, I have the names, but I don't recognize who is who, etc. Now, about Hannah, Hannah was the, how would I say, she was a big believer in the family. The doctors didn't, or let's say they advised her not to bring more children, but she refused. And what happened? She was really a tzadikah, and I stayed at their place for some time. It was amazing to see how they are running the family with so many children and so special way. And when she was pregnant, the 11th child, as I understand, Philip also tried to convince her not to bring more children, but he said, whatever will happen, will happen. And they were in upstate New York, and he was in New York. They were on vacation, and Philip was in New York, and Anna was there with all the children. And she has a pain, and she was ran to the hospital, but it was too late, and she passed away. And Philip remained with 6 young children between 1 and 6, and another 4 a little bit older. Malki became really the mother of all the children because Philip didn't want to remarry. There was a short period of time that he married someone, but he didn't hold, and then they divorced again after a few years, and I think that what I can say that he devoted his life to the children. And I found the letter that he wrote me. It's a very long letter in Hebrew, something like 12 pages, after Hannah died. By the way, Hannah, her brother lives here in Israel, in Netanya, and they have children, and one of the children was studying with my Uri. But this is, again, there are so many circles that we are meeting one another, etc. But I would like just to, I prepared a lot of things to read, but I will read one up. What happens? Sorry. Just a second. I will read a short piece. He writes like this in Hebrew, and I don't know who, I'll translate it later on in few words. בהקשר לעניין הכי חשוב שיושב על ליבך וגם ליבי, this is about the death of Hannah, אני אסתדר, I'll manage. כל הנסיבות והפרטים של המאורע הם לא מסוגלים לכתוב במכתב. רק תדע שזה היה בפתע פתאום, בלי שום אזהרה. מבהיל ומשגע. It was very sudden and made me crazy, but we couldn't prepare ourselves. אני ממשיך הלאה בגלל שאני צריך לעשות כן. I have to continue because I don't have any other choice. יש לי, בלי עין הרע, 10 ילדים נהדרים. כל אחד אבן יקרה מסוג אחר. A precious stone, every one of my childs is a different precious stone. Not only me who says so, and everybody that knows them. And this was the way it was always. And אני שם פנים חזקים ומנחם ומחזק את כל אחד, אבל בפנים אני רק כמו בקבוק שנראה יפה מבחוץ, אבל בפנים אין שום דבר, סיוע גדולה יש לי בזה מהאמונה שלי. And this is, first, the children are really precious stones, and he is really, without all the ceremony, is really a very, very deep believer. I don't know how to explain it, but he really, and in the letter, he tells him that he hoped that one day in his life, or maybe after his life, he will understand why he got all these problems that he got during his life. So I think now, this is again some pictures from during the Chatuna of Gidi. This is Abe and Avi and me and Philip and Gidi. This is in the Kotel. And this is one of my visits in Manhattan with Philip. I think this was my last time I saw him. It was about 2 years before he died. And here are 2 pictures of visits. I keep some relation with the family. So this is the Hila, the young with her husband and me in Jaffa. And this is Malki and her second husband, Omar. He was a Muslim, but now he's a Jewish. He became Jewish before knowing Malki. and her first oldest boy. This is just to show you how the letters are looking like, but I will not read them now. In another chance. And now this is just, again, I will make it very quick. This is again the tree, that's to show again how this Firer family is related to us. This is Moshe Tudros and Rachel Firer. Now, this is, just a second, Rachel had a brother, and the brother had a son named Yitzchak. This is Yitzchak Firer, and this is, what's her name? I don't see. Here you can see it in the tree. Rachel Firer and Moshe Tudros, and Yitzchak Firer and Sarah, whatever. And this is the way that we are related, and this is all the tree of the Firer family. We will go through it very quick. What we know, and this I found out only in the last few years. I never heard about the Firer family, but they used to live with very close to my family in Jeshuv. And the story goes, this Lumek Firer, just a second, I'll show you here in the scheme. Lumek is here. Lumek Firer, Avram Firer. He had 1, 2, 3, I think 4, 3 or 4 sisters and brothers. All of them we have stories about him, but Lumek himself, he was the youngest, and his father died quite young. And his mother died very young. You see here, less than 40. And the father got depression. And in that situation, in the family, he said that nobody saw what is happening with him. For about 2 or 3 years, he didn't go to school at all. The only one that took a little bit some pay attention to him was Noach, his older brother. Noach was the best friend of my father's younger brother Shlomo, that killed himself, attempted suicide in Jeshuv during the war. So Noach was his best friend, and Lumek, he had a very long story how he survived. He was in Shomer HaTzair, and over there, here you can see him in a picture in Israel. He went through many bad things during the Second World War, survived, they came to Israel. And about 20 years ago, before he died, I got a telephone call from him. I didn't know him. And he said, look, I am Lumek Firer. You don't know me. I am related to you in a way. And I had some things to tell you. I would like to tell you a few things that I couldn't tell your father. And if you want, please come to me, and I will tell you those things that I couldn't tell your father. So the coming weekend, I took my sister with me, and went to the kibbutz he lived in Ma'apil, and we were sitting about an hour. At that time, I was not so interested yet. Otherwise, I would question him for hours. But we sat together, and he said, look, in the ghetto, through the window, first of all, we lived, me and my father and my brother lived at the Blaswell house in the ghetto. And I was working, that's what Lumek said, for a contractor, German contractor, was maintaining the rails on the railway system in Jeshuv area. And through the window, I saw just before the Aktia, your family, I think what happened is that Shmuel, the older brother, arranged a way to try to hide the whole family in a bunker in Jeshuv. And Lumek told me that he saw through the window where he was, he saw how probably somebody told the Germans about this family. They took them out and shot them on the spot there in Jeshuv. And Lumek told me that he saw how my grandmother and my grandfather were killed. He said they didn't see about the rest of the family, but probably they were all shot at the same time. It was somewhere in 42. The very interesting thing that now on my investigations, I found a death certificate of Shmuel from 43. So maybe he survived, or I don't know, because usually I don't know why they register a death certificate of him. But this is the story, and it was a little bit described more deeply in another presentation.
Well, yeah, because I have to talk about the relationship between Lumek and myself, because his mother and my grandmother were sisters. And my mother's mother was a sister to their mother, and they were born in Leipzig, Germany, which is surprising to me, but then they came to Jeshuv. And by the way, we're related some way, which I'm going to bring up now, to the Reiche Rav. The Reiche Rav, and I hope Chaim will listen carefully and maybe he could look into it. The Reiche Rav was a Levine. Levine. And his grandson was a Levine. But they have a son who is now living. He's a famous, from what I understand, he's a famous lawyer.
Hey, I'm sorry.
You're on mute.
Yeah.
Abe, you have to unmute yourself. Abe, you're on mute.
Hi, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. My cat pressed the computer and everyone turned into mute. So we only heard start the sentence and unmute yourself, Abe.
Abe, you see that button where you can push unmute?
When you pass with the mouse on the screen, then to the left side, there is a
Do you
button.
really want him unmuted?
Yeah, you're unmuted. Good.
Okay, unmuted, maybe. The Reiche Rav was a Levine. Somewhere along the line, we're related. But he had a son also Levine, and that son has a son by the name of Lewin, Lewin. He's a famous attorney in Washington, D.C., dealing with the government, what do you call it?
Are you talking
Constitution.
Nathan Lewin.
Nat Lewin?
Nat Lewin.
Nat Lewin, yeah.
Yeah.
He might be mishpucha to us. He probably knows my father. I don't know him. I never, heard about him, but that's the guy, Nat Lewin. Maybe you could look into see, he probably knows us, the Geschäft, the Weinstein family.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see where we're related.
Yaakov, you too, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can
Yeah.
hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so Chaim, I leave you to check the relation with this dissidents of Mr. of Reb Levin, but what I can tell you that I found the certificate of the marriage of my grandfather, Yaakov Blasbelg, with his wife Leah Wiesen, and the rabbi that was handling the marriage was Levin, this one that you are talking about. He signed the marriage certificate.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on now. We will come, I will jump on this, all this Firer, and now we will come back to the Weinstein family. We talked about the tree several times. Now we will go to what left from the last presentation. Okay, so these are the 6 children, or 7, but 6 that we know of Hannah. This is Yaakov and Chaya, your grandparents, and these are the 2 boys, and with the wives. And this is the letter, Chaim, that my father wrote in Yiddish, and it was published in forwards. So the story went like this. Exodus came to Israel, then the British caught them and sent all the Ma'apilim, all these newcomers to Israel in 3 prison ships back to Europe. Now, the first stop of the ships was the same port that they left France, and they were trying to be convinced to get off the ship, and the French, promised them all kinds of things, that will get jobs and they will get citizenship, etc. But they refused, and they were a few weeks there in the port. And my father wrote this letter and put it in a bottle and threw it to the sea. And there were a lot of small, I don't know, it's not a ship, I don't know how to call it, small
Boats
with journalists and photographers that were around the ship, and one of them took this bottle, opened it, found the letter, and I don't know how it arrived quite soon in the United States. I believe that Max gave it to Beirish. Beirish, I don't know, he was also a journalist in the forwards. You see here the forward, and they published this letter, a brief for an immigrant of the ship, יציאה 1947, and first it was sent to Max. I don't know exactly why he decided to write it to Max, but this was the letter. And what he says here, he describes a little bit the way that he married my mother few days before they went on the Exodus, and very shortly what happened to them. I will not read the whole translation. Abe translated to me from Yiddish into Hebrew, into English, and from then to Hebrew. And finally, what he says, that they are not going, the only place that they would like to come is to Israel, and they will either come to Israel or they will die. And maybe just the end of the letter, אני ואשתי ברוך השם בקו הבריאות, we are okay, כולנו מקווים להגיע למטרתנו שהיא ארץ ישראל, אני מסיים, מחבק ומנשק אתכם מכל הלב, I kiss and hug you from my deep of my heart. Nunbet, P.S. I ask you, my dear cousin, to update also my uncle, Yaakov Wiesen, my aunt, Beiche, and all the rest of the cousins, those who came from Rosvadov. They will hopefully hear from me when I will be in Israel. And Abe, one last thing about this. Just about 2 weeks ago, I found the grandchild of Yaakov Wiesen. I talked to him, he's 72 years old, musician that lives in New York somewhere. And he told me that Yaakov Wiesen was a baker. He had a bakery in New York, Wiesen Bakery, and this is the bakery that your mother took you as a child, and you get some cookies from time to time.
Wow. I don't think Abe is on the chat anymore.
They got disconnected. I sent them the link again, but I'm not sure they were able to figure it out. So
Oh, okay.
I don't know how they got disconnected, but they're trying to reconnect. So
Right there.
He's here.
He's here.
He's on
He's
iPhone.
here, and so is
oh,
Naomi.
good. Okay.
Everyone is connected now?
No, can you let us in? Let
He's
Abe
trying now.
in. It says waiting.
Yeah. And
יוני,
anyone, yeah,
Okay.
תחבר אותם, אני לא
How
יודע את
about
מי
so I can
בדיוק.
get him back on the computer?
and there is no one trying to get, I can't see anyone trying to get in. I can only see you guys know me on the phone.
Okay.
Who needs help?
We all do.
I'm talking about the computer.
And we're talking about in other ways, obviously.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Let me know when to continue.
We're waiting to get in.
You should be in. You can
I'm in.
talk from there until this goes on.
I'm in. I can hear.
יוני,
You
Okay?
hear me?
But we're getting the feedback from
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Mother
Because
is
we
still
have two
getting on.
machines open on the same room, we're getting feedback from one another.
Naomi, if
Yes.
you have,
Turn your
if you have
volume.
two devices on.
You know the old saying, the best plans, whatever.
Maybe just use the phone.
let me know when to continue.
If you can both look at the same phone,
And they-
put one of them on mute.
Yeah. Naomi, you need to use one device, either the phone or the computer, but you use both because the sounds are banging into each other. That's a scientific
Okay,
term.
I'm gonna shut this one off.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on the computer again. So once
Now you've just closed the video, but you didn't. We can still hear you on both
I'm
machines.
trying to call them to tell them on the phone. Hi, she just turned off the video on the iPhone. You have to turn one of all.
Oh, you gotta turn off one of the things. Go off. You gotta turn off the iPhone. I'll turn off the iPhone.
I just turned them both off.
Okay. Mother just turned it.
It's connecting now. Well, you know, how's that?
We're back.
Okay, can I continue?
No, you still need to disconnect your iPhone.
I will. I don't know which one.
Unmute.
It's you. Can you shut yourself off? Shut it off completely.
Okay, I removed your iPhones, okay? And you need, when you want to speak, you need to do unmute to the computer because now we can't hear you through the computer. We can't hear you through the,
Can you hear us now? He's
Yes.
unmuted.
Wonderful.
I'm turning it over to him. Here he is.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, let's continue. So now we are coming to Max story. So as Abe explained earlier, he was grown up in Stropkov with his mother. And as I understand, when Berish was going to get married, he convinced his father to invite the mother and Max from Slovakia, from Europe, to come to America. I just can imagine how Max felt when he met his father that left him for more than 20 years. But this is just things that we can imagine. Anyhow, the mother came and Max came to America, and he arrived something 1928, 1929. And at the beginning, he had all kind of temporary work. He was a teacher in a cheder, and he was working in a shop. And later on, I think that Abe's brother arranged him some job to be responsible in one of the offices of the photo machines. I don't know how you call them. And then I'm sure, Chaim, that you will be able to tell it more deeper than I do, but I will make it quick. And Norman, the first son, was born in 1939. And he was, when he was older, he was quite problematic. In order to get a good education, the parent decided to get back to be a religious family, because they left it in some period of time. But and Norman had quite an interesting life. He was married several times, and I think that from the first one, he has, I think, 3 children. Am I correct?
He has Stuart, he has Felicia,
Andrea and Elisha.
and Andrea. No, Stuart, Felicia, and Andrea.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind, and probably maybe later on I leave you to describe a little more in detail. Jerry is the second brother. He was the kind of a star of the family. At the beginning, he was also in yeshiva, Orthodox yeshiva. Later on, he studied engineering and worked in Whirlpool. I'm doing it very short. And I think this is him. Am I correct?
Yeah.
This is him. And I think these are his two. He has 2 twins, and this is the husband of one of them. I don't know who is who, because I found the pictures in the internet.
Okay. Did you want to get?
This is Margie, and this is Debbie.
This is Debbie, and the man in the middle is Eric.
Eric Morrow.
Eric Morrow. He's Debbie's husband.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
these are the pictures that I found on the internet.
You're missing one. You're missing one more daughter.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I have. And they didn't send me pictures, so I can show whatever I have, and this
Harry
is
didn't want to send pictures. I had asked them, they didn't want to send pictures. So Yaakov found some pictures on the internet, so
Okay.
yeah.
that's how he got them.
So he probably is suspicious or whatever. Even those pictures are there, but it's up to
Okay.
him.
Okay.
So, and this is Chaim's family. Baruch Hashem, what we say. So I will, Chaim, maybe I will tell you just to describe who is who, or you want me to do it?
You can do it, but it's not just Chaim's family. It's also Dror's family. Shani's husband's family is there. And Yanni's husband and children are there. Okay.
Let's describe from right to left.
Okay, this is Rachel, my wife. This is Chaim Weinstein, a wonderful human being. This is my sweet Shani, who's my oldest child. This is these three right here are my grandchildren. This is Adira, this is Gabriel, and this is Efrat. And here is Dror. And over here is Jeremy and his wife Yanni, who's my younger daughter. And this is her son. This is her son Daniel, and that must be their son Benjamin. This is Shani's. This is Dror's parents, Shani's in-laws, and this is my former wife. That's everybody in the family.
Okay, so as it goes to me, I met Chaim first time in New York. Philip or Abe, I don't remember who, somebody of them arranged a meeting in New York, and we met, I think Abe, Chaim, and me. Philip was there too or not?
Who was there? No, it was me, you, and Philip. You and Philip.
I didn't hear you, Chaim. Who was there in that meeting?
It was me and you and Philip, and we had coffee in one of the places in Brooklyn.
This was my first meeting of Chaim, and later on they came to celebrate Gabriel's bar mitzvah in Israel, and we met again. Just a second. This is a picture from Tel Aviv when we met again when I was living already in Tel Aviv. Rachel and Chaim came there. And I think
Tony needs to go on mute.
Now let's go in few words to Moshe. This is again.
I think Yoni is not muted.
Someone is talking.
Yoni.
Yoni, אתה מדבר? Okay, now it's quiet. So this is again the יוני, אתה... יוני, שומעים אותך שם בשיחת רקע.
הלוגים של כל הארגונים, לא עזר לי. יכול להיות שהיא לא ראתה.
Let me call him because I hope...
זה לא היה. זה לא יכול להיות נורא, אם עליה אני מטרטר לה על זה בראש,
אבא?
תשים מיוט, אתה שומעים אותך ברשת.
אני לא עשיתי מיוט. הלו?
אבל מישהו שם מכניס רעש, רקע גדול. זה לא אתה?
אוקיי, בסדר, אוקיי.
סורי, אוקיי. חשבתי שזה אתה. אוקיי, so again, the tree, this is the children of Moses Tudros, and here, this is Berish and Malka, the daughter, and this is Groisha Bernard. This is the only son or grandson of Hannah that they didn't talk about. He also was in a minute. This is his dissidents, but we will mention just few words about Groisha Bernard. Where is it?
Yaakov, how is he related to my side of the family?
The same as Abe.
He's Yaakov's
Yeah,
brother.
let me, can I say something here? This is kind of interesting. This is my grandfather, Moshe Todus. This is the father of my mother. Also, the father of Chaskel Ishkasit, Chaskel Weinstein. This is my grandmother, Rachel Weinstein. But it's kind of interesting. Underneath there, it says, "Und ihr zwei einiglich von die Tochter
Toiba.
Toba." The Tochter Toba. It's interesting. It looks to me that he's a boy and not a girl.
I think you're right.
And Toba had 4 daughters. So this might be the oldest daughter and the boy that she might be dating. Because there were 4 girls. I know that my mother asked for if when Naomi gives birth, if she has a daughter, to call her Tova, and my mother did. But the
But
reason why I
Chaim-
say 4 boys, 4 girls is because they all died in the concentration camp.
Chaim, to answer your question, my grandparents were first cousins. The Groise Berish was my grandmother's brother. And since my grandparents were first cousins, Groise Berish would have been Max's first cousin.
You can see it here. Yaakov Weinstein here. Your grandfather was a brother of Moshe Todrus.
Okay.
So let's go back to Bernard and not Bernard, sorry, Groise Bernard, yeah. He came to the United States after he lived some period of time in Prague. He was doing some business for his father. And then he came to America. He worked he sold all kinds of electrical things, goods in consignment. He didn't hold a religious family, but he was quite successful in his business. Abe told me that whenever they met, he was a child, Abe, they gave him a quarter, him and his brother.
Yeah.
This means that he was quite a successful person, and he died quite young. And Celia, his wife, I think lived almost 100 years or maybe 100 years. They had
3.
They had 3 children. One is Stanley, that was a pilot in the US Army, and he was a reserve of flying those flights with the atomic bomb to Japan. He was really almost a hero in the United States, and whatever I'm telling you is what I heard from Abe when he came after the army to New York after the Second World War. He was really a hero, and later on he became an insurance dealer.
Right. Well,
And Philip told me that he was quite a nervous person. He was shouting a lot. He married some Israeli Giselle, that was working as a translator from Hebrew to English, and they have 2 children, Ilana and Boaz. Now, Boaz became Stanley died about 4 years or 6 years ago already. The Boaz, the son, he was a dealer in hedge fund and in the market, etc., and became a very, very famous and very, very rich. And he married, this is Boaz, and his wife.
Correct.
She has some Persian name, I don't know exactly, but she's a very nice woman. And these are their 3 daughters.
She's actually running for the district attorney from
New York City.
City in the year 2022.
Again, please know me.
The wife of Boaz is running for district attorney from New York in the year 2022.
Really? I know that she was working for the justice. She's a lawyer and she was working for the Justice Department in New York.
Right.
So
I do believe she's also of Moroccan descent.
Right.
I'm not sure about that, but I do think she's
She is not Ashkenazi. She's
yeah,
Sfardi.
this for sure. Her name is very, very strange. I read
From
her name,
Iran.
Tali Farhadian. Tali. Tali is a Hebrew name, but the family name is, it looks like Iranian.
She's Iranian. Yes, you're right.
Iranian,
Yaakov, she's
This
an
makes sense.
Iranian.
and I'm sorry, I'm the one who
Iran.
made a mistake.
Okay, so this is the story of Stanley. Stephen, the second son, is about Abe's age. I think they were about 10 days different between when they got married. He worked in New York as a lawyer. And from his first wife, he had twins. And then he married Sigrid. I think this is, I'm not sure, Alicia, you will tell me. This is his first wife?
No.
Over here at the
First-
very beginning, all the way over.
To the left.
One more.
Yeah.
That's his second one. Oh,
That's Sigrid, but there's no picture of the first wife.
No
I
picture.
see. Okay, so
this is the second wife.
That's
and who is
Sigrid.
who is she? Also Sigrid?
No.
No.
She's
That's
Celia.
Celia,
the Grocia
No,
Bear.
this is Sheila, the
That's-
daughter.
No,
No.
the mother.
that's the Grace Berish's wife.
Right. Sheila is here.
Ah,
Next to
this is Sila, the wife of Goyce Berish.
There, right. And
Yes.
to the left of Celia, the girl, that's Sheila.
I see. This is Sheila. And who are those here?
The
Sheila's
picture all the
daughter.
way underneath Stephen, that's Stephen's twins.
Right,
Ah, this is Stephen twins.
right.
Okay.
Beth and
Beth and Mark.
Mark.
Okay. So,
And this is Sheila's daughter.
okay. So now I will take off. This is what I had in the presentation. And now we can see one another. Oops. And we can go on with talking, whoever is there.
Wow, there's so much information. My Sean had a question earlier that she wanted to find out more specifically exactly how you, Yaakov, and I are related. Now, I know we went over this. We went over this before this began. We went over this when we met in Israel, and you were very, very, very kind, and you took us all over to show us all the wonderful sights. But there's a connection between your father and my grandfather, or your father and my father were cousins? No.
Yeah, first
Yes.
cousin.
Just a second. I'll put back the presentation and then we will be able.
But you could tell me, you don't have to go back to the presentation. It's all right.
Just a second. So I will tell you. Let's say it this way, just a second. it?
The Mima Ratza.
We are related through the great grandmothers. My great grandmother Ratze was the sister of your great grandmother Hannah. Now Hannah married Abraham Beirish, and Ratze married Meir Blasbelg. And this is the way that how we are become related. I mean, through the great grandmothers of both of us. Yours is Hannah and mine is Ratze. And
Hannah was whose mother in the scheme of my family?
Our grandfather.
Hannah was the mother of Yaakov. Yaakov, your grandfather.
Oh, okay. Of Yaakov, my father's father.
Your father's, which was Avram and Hannah.
Okay.
Were our great-grandfathers.
Yeah.
Then our grandfather was Moshe Todros. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah,
their father was Moshe, our grandfather. That's our great-grandfather. Avram and Hannah, our great-grandfathers and grandmother. Moshe, for us it would be Yaakov and Chadshah. Yaakov is the son of them, and Chadshah is the wife. Then
Beirish and Max.
And Beirish.
Right.
And then us.
Okay. So I want to ask a different question because this has been bothering me my entire life. My father, Alav HaShalom, stayed behind in Stropkov with his mother.
Right.
That choice, that decision was made by my father's mother, my father's father, or both of them.
It was made.
How did that get decided?
I'll tell you how it got decided. Simple. Your grandfather, as well as mine, decided he's leaving Reisha. They both lived in Reisha. They were both born in Reisha. My father and Max were born in Reisha. Their father and mother together. When your father was born, a year later, whatever, for some reason, Yaakov came to the United States.
That's what I'm after. And Yaakov said before that that's the area that's a little, it's hard to nail down.
I will tell you two versions that I know.
Right.
Just a second, Abe.
Okay.
One version that what Beirish is writing in the poem is that he got instruction for his rabbi to go to the United States, probably to avoid participating in a way in the First World War or something like this. But Abe told me that probably maybe they just didn't get along quite good. So he left the family and left alone to the United States. He was a scholar and he was not so doing good. They were quite a poor family. But I don't know that we know exactly why he decided to leave the family and go alone to the United States.
I understand that he didn't get along with his wife.
But
one second. But that means he also was willing to leave his 1-year-old son. And the next time that Yaakov Lipa met his son, Mordechai Menachem, my father, was when they were two adult men. My father was 25 years old when he met his father for the first time, and they shook hands as two men who previously had nothing to do with each other. That's how I always understood.
Let me explain that. Let me explain that so you'll understand. You're right to a certain degree. They saw each other when he was born. He was still there.
Right.
He left when my father was 2 or 3 and your father was 1 or 2. I don't know their exact
Right.
age, but I know around that age. He leaves. Now, they set up a rule. The rule is not my rule, no other rule, but if you have 2 boys, a wife and a husband have 2 wives, 2 boys, according to the religion, nothing else. The older one goes with the father's family. My father was really born as an orphan. He ran around. He didn't have a mother. His mother had the younger one, Max. Now, at least Max had a mother. They went back to Stuttgart because that's where she came from, and that's where she could live from, and that's where she could make money. I don't know if they made money or the family helped them out. I know my father slept in everybody's house in Aisha. My father was an orphan. So when you think of how he raised himself, and when he turned 18, he wanted to go to the United States because he was afraid to get into the military. What happened was simple. Haskell was 16, and Haskell was a good-looking guy and a tremendous womanizer. I have to say, a tremendous womanizer. So the Mishpucha, which is very orthodox, the Weinstein, told him that he has to leave. He can't stay in Russia. So my mother convinced him to go to Palestine, Israel, whatever. He goes to Israel. My mother takes his birth certificate, gives it to my father. My father comes to the United States as your name,
Charles.
Charles Weinstein. That's how he came here, Charles Weinstein, which really is Haskell.
The bottom
Haskell.
line is, Chaim, to answer your question, we'll never know really who made the decision or why the decision was made. We can't begin to imagine what their life was like. And it seems to us an unimaginable thing for parents to do. But we'll never know why he came and why the decisions were made for one child to go one place and the other to go another.
Right. Those 24 years between the time that my father was born and the time that he finally came here to America, I don't know beans about his life. I don't know. I know that he went to several places. I know he was in Metz, France. I know that he taught in Cheder, but he was in Canada at some point. All of these details I don't have real access to. Through the years, I've heard different things that each of us gleaned together. My brothers have some points of information, but I don't know exactly what their source was, where they got this information. And somehow, and I also don't know how it is that my father came to meet my mother. They were 2 different lives. One was born in America. My father was from Europe. Somehow they were introduced or something, but all of those gaps in my learning about my father, I don't think they'll ever be filled authoritatively.
Well, what I could say about your father was the fact that he lived with us. When we lived in 254 Delancey Street, and I could tell you we lived in 254 Delancey Street, and we lived in a railroad flat. And from my age, from 1 to 5, all I spoke was Yiddish. All I heard outside in the street was Yiddish. It was a Yiddish world for me. And I could tell you that it was a great world. My grandfather, my father's father was there. My grandmother, my father's mother, your father, my uncle, you were there. My older brother, he was there, and my mother. We lived in a railroad flat. Railroad flat, very easy. One room after another. And I could tell you some of the wonderful things that happened when I was living there. My Uncle Max was, to me, almost as close to my father as anybody else. He would lift me up. I remember when it came to Shabbos and they wanted the lights on, your father would lift me up under the light and I would pull the cord and the light would go on. And nobody would yell at me because I was a Christian, you know? But those were the times. I remember going all the way to the back room and that's where the bathroom was. All we had was a sink, a commode, and a toilet. And you pulled the string and the water came down and you flushed.
Right.
Where did they go to take a bath? Every Friday, they would go to the big streets, Allen Street. They had a big,
Kind of a mikveh.
Like
Bathhouse?
you go in, they would take showers. I remember me and Moshe running around,
Public bath.
showers.
Public bath.
Right. And they took showers, they shaved there, they took a schwitz, whatever it was.
Abe, do you know how Max and Lillian got to know one another?
All I could tell you, it's kind of interesting. For the first time, Max, we moved to Sheepshead Bay. And Chaim got to see me. I got to look at him. And basically what it was this. I remember Max taking me by the hand and we walked to the subway station at Sheepshead Bay, waiting for the subway to come. And in the subway was Lillian and her friend. Help me out. What was her best friend's name?
My mother.
You remember? Lillian and what's her name? She had
No,
a girl and what?
no, I don't remember.
You know who I mean, though.
The girl
What's that?
married in Israel.
Her daughter married in Israel.
Who got married in Israel?
All right.
The friend of your mother.
Wedding and they lost your suitcase.
Right. She lived in. Anyway, let me explain. What happened was, she came down with Lillian. Lillian and Max walked in front, and I held her hand. Well, I forgot her name. Gosh.
Clara Fine?
Who?
Clara Fine?
First name?
Clara.
Clara. That's it. Clara.
It.
You're right.
Clara.
They came down, Clara and Lillian. I met Lillian for the first time and Clara. And Clara and Lillian and Max walked back to the apartment because we were going to have a meal. And who was there? My grandfather and my grandmother, my mother, my father, and my brother. And Lillian came with Max, and I was walking with Clara. That's all I remember. The next thing I knew is that Max was getting married to Lillian.
Okay.
Wonderful girl.
Chaim, I can tell you one more thing.
She turned out to be a wonderful aunt.
Yeah.
Maybe not a good mother to you, but a wonderful lady to me.
She was a terrific aunt. I remember visiting her all the time. I can still smell her apartment.
Right.
Yeah.
Chaim, I can tell you one more thing that you can see in the previous presentation, that I know that Abe and Nomi and Elisha, and I don't know, they have some relatives in Israel from the Gerhardt family. I mean,
Yeah.
there were descendants of Gerhardt, the family in Slovakia.
Yeah. That's
They
the first time.
lived, I don't know if you know them, but you can ask Elisha, and
That
they
is the first
participated
time.
in the bar mitzvah of Brian in Israel.
I tell you when I met the Gerhardts, first time, 1956. I came to Israel by myself. I was in the military. I don't have to tell you, I was in the military. And that's when I learned my ganze mishpucha. I came, and all of a sudden, I happened to fly in with the American consul, and he took a big limo from the airport. And I walk out of the airport and I said to myself, oh my God, I could have taken so much stuff. Nobody checked me out or nothing. I go in the car with the guy and we drop off early in the morning. We stop in front of Kasich. That's where Haskell is.
Right.
And there he is sleeping on a chair. And I walk in, because it was a big surprise for him. I'm coming from Germany. And I go over and they say, don't wake him, don't wake him. And I said, I can wake him. I walk over and I shake his hand. He looks at me and he goes, Avrum, is this steer? Is this a chulim? That's what he said to me. Avi, is that you? Is this a dream? And from then on, he hugged me, kissed, whatever I wanted. I mean, the truth, the restaurant was mine. The restaurant was mine. And Israel was mine. He took me all over Israel.
Can I just ask one more question about Haskell? Haskell had an English name? No.
Haskell had a name. He went as Berish. But when he got to Israel, he called himself Haskell. That's what his name was.
But the passport was Charles.
Yeah, Yaakov says the passport had the name Charles. I'm wondering, I still don't know where I got this name from.
My father has the passport, Charles.
So they switched it.
Yeah, my mother switched the birth certificate so my father could come to Israel, to the United States. If he was 18, he couldn't go to the United States. He was not allowed to go to the United States if he was 18. He was 16, 15, 17. Yeah, he could go to the United States. Wow. Haskell could go to Israel, to Palestine at the time, at any age. So he went as 18. And when he gets to Israel at 18, you know what happened? They look at him and everything else. He was a shtaker, good-looking guy. They needed a security guard for Chaim Weitzman.
Yeah, I think I heard this story. I heard this story.
And who did they pick? Haskell. And he took good care. And then they changed his name from Haskell Weinstein to Haskell Kasich. Kasita is the stone of the Kohanim of us.
I'm wondering if they just didn't take his name when he told it, when they were making the documents in the United States, whether or not it wasn't changed to a more American sounding name. It does seem interesting that Charles would be the name.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unusual name for somebody in either with a European background or an Israeli background, or any connection of it to be called Charles. It's interesting to me that they named me Charles. when my brothers and I get together every 3 weeks, we have a Zoom session. And the topic, the number one topic of conversation every single time is 90% of it is our father. He is a mystery to us. We don't have enough information. We don't have enough to form opinions about him. And don't forget, I was just about 19 when he passed away. So all the time that I thought I would have in my 20s and my 30s, whatever, where I'd be able to have a chance to sit down and talk to him and find out some of the history that you're talking about, Yaakov, or that you, Abe, I thought I'd be able to find out directly when I would begin to ask questions about him, but I didn't. And so now my only source of information is from other people. And that's a little, it's unsettling for me because I like to get at something on my own. I like to trust my own instincts, my own smells about things. And it's very hard to do that when you're getting it from other people. And there's some of the other people that I'm getting it from.
Can I tell you? Yeah, I want to tell you something.
1 second. And it's very important that I'm getting it, but there's a million things I've wanted to know through the years. Who are my father's best friends? Who did he hang around with? Why is there a picture of 3 guys in these white uniforms in Stropkov, and they look like they're having a good time? Why is there a picture of my father standing next to a ladder with a paint can and a paintbrush? What was he doing? Was he part of a group of people who were erecting a set for a play? Was he just a painter? A million questions that we all have, and nobody has a definitive answer.
Okay. Can I tell you something so you'll know? World War II. What's going on? And your father was in the States by then. Thank God.
Thank God.
And he lived in Sheepshead Bay. We lived in Sheepshead Bay. He was married to Lillian. I'm giving you already married.
Right.
Norman was already a boy or on his way, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell you that during the war, whatever, they would speak in Yiddish. Me and Moshe knew every word they said. They spoke in English. We knew every word they said. But when they started to speak Polish, that was the indication that me and Moshe had to go out of the room. Out of the room. We had no idea what they were talking about in Polish.
Right.
But one thing we knew, you go out of the room, this is something for adults and not for us.
Right.
And that's the way it went. I mean, that was life. I'm sorry I didn't ask those questions now.
Right. My father, Oliver Shalom, also knew. He knew a little Hungarian. He knew a little Russian. I mean, I would have loved to
They
sit
knew
down.
Czechoslovakian. They knew every language. My God.
Yeah. At that time, it was Austro-Hungary. They talked Hungarian.
Right.
Ungash, your father.
Right.
And they
Your father was grown up in a Hungarian area. What we call now Slovakia, it was Hungary at that time. And the headquarters, the main city was Budapest.
When my brother Jerry and I, we went to Czechoslovakia in 2006. And my brother's idea was, let's go and let's see where our father lived. I said, there's nothing left of whatever it was that he had to do with Czechoslovakia. There's no more little shtetl. There's no more, first of all, it was taken over by the communists early on. There's no connection. He said, even so, I want to be able to go to a country where I can imagine this is where my father played ball. This is where he rode his little bicycle. And, you know, it sounded like a nice idea. And I said, okay. So we went. I was right. There was nothing of Stropkov that we could have related to. I did see that most of the traveling that was done back and forth was by horse and buggy. This is 2006. I didn't see very many cars, but I wanted to get a feel just of the land, of the type of people who were living there, just to get a sense. We even went to the town hall, the equivalent of a town hall, and we were trying to get information about my father. So I would think this is 2006. Everything should be computerized. He takes out this gigantic book like this, where the pages are all yellow, and he goes, "What year did you want me to look for?" I said, 1904. He's turning the pages. He goes, "Here, take a look. Maybe you'll find it." I'm looking through the names. I don't see Gerhardt. I don't see Weinstein. I don't see anything at all. And I'm looking all over. Maybe it's a year later. Maybe it's the year before. Maybe it's 2 years later. Nothing. There's no record of him. What were they very, very happy about? Very happy about this mayor of this Fashtunka little town, because my brother was working for Whirlpool, and this mayor of the place thought he was being so helpful. He said, maybe you can help us, you children of Stropkov, maybe you can do something for Stropkov. And my brother said, what did you have in mind? He said, well, you work for Whirlpool. Maybe there's some kind of a gesture you can make. I couldn't believe that this is a guy who is doing something that the world accuses Jews of doing all the time. The Jews are always trying to get something for nothing. This guy was asking my brother to make a donation from Whirlpool to Stropkov in memory of the life that was a long time ago. So my brother, who did have some connections still, even though he was retired, they donated a washing machine to the office. I'm not sure what they're going to do with a washing machine in the office. I had nothing to do with that. That's my connection. That's my connection to Stropkov. I have no sense, no feel, no nothing. But it was important that I know that this is where he was.
You know, I mean, I appreciate what Yaakov does by going back to Aisha, Jesho. He sees the town. I don't know where they lived. I assume that it didn't. I know for a fact my father said, and I have to get that poem. It's in Aisha when he writes, Mamashi, Badim Banacht is Hein Pesach, aber ich hab nicht a Schlüssel zur Tier. It hurts. It hurts in that poem. I will get that poem and I will read it one day to you. So you'll see that my father's life was not as good as we all think it was when he was younger.
Okay.
He was a tough guy, though. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
I remember Avum Blasbal telling me, Yaakov's father, telling me the story about my father when he was younger. And he was going to Cheder, and he was walking, and two Russian boys jumped him, pull his kippah off him, make fun of him, and run away. And my father goes home, whatever, I don't know who he spoke to, whatever, but one thing, he waited and got them one-on-one and beat the dailing crap out of them one-on-one. He took them on one-on-one because they took his kippah. That's the way it was. That's what I heard from your father.
Right.
I want to add a few things. First, Chaim, if you have pictures of your father from Tropkov or when they were young, please just mail them to me. The other thing that I wanted to say that as I see, so all over the family, my father didn't talk to us at all, never told us even a word about the future. Whatever I know now about the family is through my studies. But all over, usually what happened is that the family was living where the woman came from. So from Moshe Tudros went to the place where his wife was grown up. And in my case, it was a little different. But in your case, what I understand, Beirish and Max, both of them were born in Stropkov. And then they moved to Reiche, and then your father left, and then your mother went back with your father, and Beirish was left there. During the First World War, they ran away to what is now Czechoslovakia, and he studied there, Beirish studied there, and afterwards he went, when he was 16, something like this, he went to Vienna, from there the United States, and your father just came later on, to the United States.
Right.
Hey, maybe you know how was the shidduch, or what was this, the shidduch between your father and your mother? How was it that he invited Malka Gittel to come from Poland to America and they got married?
All I know is I'm a first cousin to myself. My mother
but
and
you
my
don't know
father were first cousins.
Was it a shidduch?
You know what? I knew they were first cousins when?
Yeah, this I know, but
maybe when I was 6 or 7.
Were they in love before he left Poland, in Poland, or it was a kind of a shidduch that was made afterwards when he came to America?
She set him up to go to America. He wanted to go to America, and she made that change, And my mother was there in Poland, and then my father got to the United States. He brought her over. She came over. He was living at that time with his father. For the first time, he moved in with his father.
But
and then my father.
How the shidduch was made, you don't know.
The shidduch?
How they became a couple?
I really don't know. I really don't know the shidduch. But you know what? I never asked.
I'm sorry. I have to go, but I would love to continue these conversations, and I think there should be a part 3. And I'm not sure, but Yaakov, this is an enormous amount of work that you've done.
I'm going to tell you, if without Yaakov doing this, it's no good, because Yaakov really has insight.
It's not only
he keeps on digging.
It's not only important,
help him.
It's not only important to me. It's very important for me that my sweet daughters, that they know about this, and my son, Mirza Hashem, will need to know about this. This Zoom is been recorded, right? This being recorded, the one from today, like the last one I just got an email, was also recorded. So I'm going to try to listen to that one too. But it's very important to do chazara on a lot of these, so we can.
Okay, so I'll tell you generally, all the Zoom meetings that I am preparing. First of all, we have to thank Yoni for arranging all the television and Zoom, etc., and Gidi, my son, that was preparing the presentation itself. But all of them are we have now there 6 or 7 of my family. So part of them are of my mother family, and it's also a story that her great-grandparents came from Galicia to Hungary, and from Hungary, she came to Israel, but she became an Hungarian. But originally, her family, about 10 generations before was in Galicia, very close to Jeshu. But anyhow, all those recordings are in this link. So you can, this one, I will edit also. You can listen to all of them. If you want another one, please send me some pictures that there will be a good reason to start with.
Okay,
Okay.
I will send you some good
Try to
pictures.
add something.
I will send you some good pictures.
Okay, we are hoping.
Pictures I will send you are the pictures that I have kwellen and a sach nachas from.
Okay.
You know what? Your
Okay.
family and your sister's family. They are to me, wonders. They are wonders.
Okay.
And when I hear what happened to your father and what he did, me as a person, I don't know if I could ever do what he did.
Okay, it was nice meeting you. Let's
too.
close the meeting and till next time.
Thank you very
Yes.
much again,
Thank you
Yaakov. I
so
really
much.
appreciate all your work.
Everybody
so
feel
much.
good. Bye, sweet
Stay
Sean.
well, everybody. It's
later.
good seeing you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Here's Yoni.
Yoni.
See you.
Thank you, Yoni.
Thank you.
Thank you for what
All
you
the
do.
best.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Guy, you're all right, kid. Your father is okay.
I wanted
I
to
love
show
you.
you one thing, Abe and Yaakov and Yoni. Hi, it's nice to meet you. I always try and go to the cemetery that's in Long Island where my father's parents are buried. He can't go because he's a Kohen and he doesn't go. So I go every year around like Erev Rosh Hashanah. And last time I went, I was walking around and I found this, Abe. I don't know if you can see it.
I've seen it.
Malka Gittel.
Here,
Yes.
my Kinder, sind daheim mit zerrissene Kriya.
What is it?
Gelost Malka zum Ebersteckeria. Am I right? Something like that?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
these are the parents of Abe.
Yes.
Buried. By the way, if you will watch the recording of the previous presentation, you
Yeah.
will see the statue there, and we will
Okay.
be talking about it.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
no. Listen, can I ask Shani?
Yes.
Shani, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do me a favor. I think my grandfather's name was not just Yaakov Weinstein. I think his first name was, trying to think now. Something Yaakov Weinstein. And maybe you could find out where his grave and Hach's grave is.
Okay.
Because
It's in
they,
the same cemetery?
well, you know what, my father, well, one thing I got to tell you about my father. He was extremely a talented writer. I don't have to tell you. And if you read about him and whatever, wherever it is, you'll find out how talented he was. Well, on 92nd Street Y, years ago, my father used to read his poetry. And when he read his poetry, you should see how crowded it was and who came. And he did things that were unbelievable. And like my son says, Dad, do you know that Barish's stuff is down in South Carolina? What would he be doing in South Carolina? And I remember a poem that he read, 92nd Street Y, where he read about the lynching of the blacks and the Jews in Europe with the pogroms. And he sort of like put it together. And he got such an ovation. I remember going there was Jacob Javits was the senator of New York, listening to my father's poems. And the writers and you name them, I see them in my dreams. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Someday I'll
Wow.
tell you about it.
Okay.
You know, Abe, your father's poetry, as I read it, he was really a big poet. And he wrote first what they call a trilogia. Three poets. One was about Russia, the other one was about America, and the third one was about Israel.
Israel.
The dream to come to Israel. And as I understood and I read in the poet, your mother always wanted to come to make Aliyah, to come to Israel, to be with her. She had two brothers in Israel, Haskel and Sulke. And even Hanale, when they were just, he writes, whenever they separated in Poland, when she went on the train to go in the direction to America, Hanale gave her a piece of paper with some instruction because she was sure she will come to Israel, and he gave it to another relative in Israel to give this piece of paper. So Malke, your mother always wanted to come to Israel, but she didn't make it.
Haskell wanted to give my mother anything she wanted. She could have owned half of Israel.
Just to come.
What it was. Just to come.
Yeah.
Whatever she wanted, he was willing to get for her. And at that time, he was Mr. I don't have to tell you what Haskell was at that time. He was the man.
Yeah. You know, there is a ballada that your father wrote called Malke's Ballada. And over there, it's very interesting to read. It was also translated to Hebrew and maybe also to English. Some of the poets were translated to English, and it's really very interesting to read. And over there, he apologized for not able for when she died. I mean, after she died, he wrote this ballada, and he writes about his apology that they didn't make it to come to Israel. That she is buried now in New York and not in Israel.
She's buried in New York.
Yeah. Okay. Good night. Have a nice.
Yeah.
At the beginning, we are at night here.
Thank you, and thank everybody there.
And all the best. Keep safe, Nomi. And Abe, all the best.
Our love. We miss seeing her.
Sorry?
We miss seeing the Hex.
Agar. She is in bed. She went to sleep.
No, the Hex family.
The Hex family, Rachel.
The Hex family. I don't know. They knew about the link. The truth is they are tired of so many genealogical Zoom meetings. So maybe next time I'll ask her to join you.
Okay.
But you can see it in the link in those records. If you want, you will be able to see her.
Listen, are you getting the injection, the vaccine, Israel?
We will get it probably after America, but who knows?
No, my understanding is that Russia has a deal with Israel.
Who knows? It's a big issue. I think Bibi bought already, I don't know, more than 10 million shots of this from 3 different companies. But who knows? Let's see that it will be supplied. Keep safe. That's I learned from Alicia.
Yes. Everyone stay safe. Stay
So
well.
good night. All the best.
Bye.
ביי. יוני, תודה לך מאוד. ביי ביי.
Shani, love to your family, your
Thank you,
sister,
Abe. Thank you.
and their family, okay?
I will
And
tell
your mother
them.
as well.
Thank you. She would
Your
send love
mother-in-law?
back.
How's she doing, your mom?
Good. Thank God. Thank God. Good.
Okay, great. We think of
Take
it
care.
too. Don't
Oh,
kid
thank you. Thank you.
Right. All right, take it slow. Enjoy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Nice
Right.
to see
Nice
you.
to see you.
You too.
Thanks,
Bye.
Yoni. Bye.
Bye.